right, welcome back to the FitTown show. It is Coach Austin here with Coach Tony. And topic today, I actually heard this on another podcast and I immediately pulled over. I jotted it down in my notes. I sent it to Tony. I was like, I think we should talk about this. So the sentence that came out from that podcast was that decision fatigue leads to stagnation. And I think in today's world, like that could not be any bigger when it comes to almost every category in life. But when I thought about it originally, it was there are 1 million different fitness options. There are 1 million different style of gyms. And by the way, they're all promoting that they're the best one. Mm-hmm. There's 1 million diets, 1 million fads, 1 million good foods and bad foods, and don't eat this, you'll die tomorrow type foods. And when all these different things are thrown at you, it is really easy to be like, well, I'm not going to do any of it because what if I die eating that strawberry? So I thought this topic would be interesting to talk about, kind of spitball back and forth. But yeah, my biggest thing is like trying to kind of quiet the noise, find something, and just try to ride that wave for a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like nowadays we tend to wear like busyness as a badge of honor. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just so busy, got so many balls up in the air, got a lot of things going right now. And we allow that to kind of distract us from what's important. And when it comes to like making decisions, it's so important to remember that when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, right? So we may not think like taking that invite to someone's, dinner outing is going to be that big of a deal. Like, sure, I'll go. But then you might have another thing come up that would have been better for your career or something else. And you're having to then say no to that thing. And, we kind of just accept a lot of inputs, and then we take a lot of things in. We say yes to a lot of things without kind of like thinking about like what's truly important. Right, we kind of get bombarded by a lot of things, and then, like you said, it leads to like sometimes not making the decision at all.
This is actually a question to you. What would your recommendation be for a filter for someone to start kind of sifting through all of the noise?
I think first, like, if you want to sift and kind of filter, because our brains are like natural filters, right? But if we're already exposing them to a million things, then we're kind of putting ourselves on the defense. And in this, we want to play offense. Yeah. So the fatigue comes from feeling like we're bombarded, when if we want to play offense, we have to take the initiative to turn off the news, put limits on social media, maybe not just like listen to, the radio or something that's just kind of like shows or debate shows, something that's just like giving us opinions after opinions, and it kind of keeps us from making our own opinions on things, because we're just taking all this bombardment of what people are thinking rather than creating our own thoughts on things. So I was reading or listening to the book The Comfort Crisis, and it's okay, I only got through like half of it, but one of the main messages in it was like, we are no longer okay with boredom. Like, we constantly need to like look at our phones. So if you're like in line waiting at Publix, you don't just like look around and just be okay with boredom. You like need to look at your phone and like check social media. And again, you need to put more stuff into your brain. And the author basically says like, we need to get back to being okay with boredom. Can we be just alone with our thoughts? And can we just take time to just kind of think and let thoughts come to us from kind of the inside rather than externally always taking on things?
I'm gonna piggyback an idea of that, and you let me know what you think. But I think that combined with when you're on social media, you're seeing highlight reels, right? You're seeing like the best families, the best nutrition plans, the fittest people. So you have this idea of, if it's not going to get me to that, I'm not even going to start it. You're looking for the perfect path, the perfect workout regimen, the perfect nutrition regimen, the perfect whatever outing that's going to get me the next job promotion, instead of just taking a step.
Yeah. I like to tell people all the time, the nutrition plan that works is the one that you do.
Yeah.
The workout plan that works is the one that you do. if you don't do it or you don't believe in it, it's not going to work for you. So it takes the participation to actually make the thing happen. And, like you said, take the first step and not just kind of like look from the sidelines, because you'll just keep jumping thing to thing. All right, you're going to see that thing on Instagram and be like, oh, that's what I should do. Oh, that's what I should do. And then weeks later, you haven't done a thing.
Right. And the thing is like, well, what if I start it and it doesn't work? It's like, well, what if you don't start it?
Yeah.
You're going to end up in the same spot, if not further behind than if you'd have just started in that moment, right? It's like, people ask, like, does Pilates work? Does this work? Does that work? Are you going to stick with it? And is that the only, like, if that's going to be the thing that gets you moving, then yeah, do it. And if you're going to commit and stick to it, then yes, do it. Now, you can always reevaluate everything, right? Like, if you've committed to it for a couple months and you're like, I'm not quite seeing the progress I was wanting to see, of course, reevaluate, pivot, try something new. But if you're saying that after a day or two, or maybe you didn't even step in there and you're like, I just don't think that's going to be what's for me, it's like, how do you know? Like, did the noise of the outside get to you, or what? Like, you have no basis, to go off of. And I think food is like that too, right? I mean, everyone makes this joke nowadays, but it's like, if you took every article and every Netflix special and every book that's been written about food, like, we would have nothing left to eat, because everything's been listed as bad in some way, right? Water's bad, fruit's bad, this is bad, that's bad. You have to, again, commit, stick with it, and then you can pivot if you need to.
Yeah.
But if you're going to continue down the path that you are and just like contemplating what I should do, you're just putting yourself back years and years and years of potential progress that you could be making if you'd have just started.
I think a lot of times people think the decision process is the work. And so they'll, look at 10 different gyms. Yeah. They'll research for hours online the reviews through Amazon products to pick the right one. And they'll become accustomed to the decision-making process being the work, when really that's not the work. The work starts once you make the decision. And so I think that's like a really key concept to understand in decision fatigue. It's like, no, like, you could have made the decision weeks back and started on that, versus still trying to look at what path to take.
Right. And I don't want to be like the person who's like, oh, we've got it all figured out. It took us 2 months to get this podcast. Like, we struggle with it too. It's like, is this the perfect way to set up the computer? Does this lighting work? The blue light's pretty cool, but we go through it too on a daily basis. Like, yeah, we've done enough and we've put enough work into the fitness type realm that, yeah, we've kind of figured out what works for us. We're still adapting on things, but there's different scenarios in life where we struggle with it too, because we won't just take a step. Like, a lot of the people who create content are like, just turn your phone on and start. And that sounds very easy, right? But it's not. It's scary. It's unknown. And until you do it, you're going to be in this constant state of like, I do want to do it. I want to do it. I'm going to do it, but I don't know if it's going to be today, maybe tomorrow. And then tomorrow's like, well, Monday sounds better. We'll start fresh on Monday. And that just snowballs and continues for as long as you want it to.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. It's like that the decision process gives some people a comfort. Yeah. Like, I accomplished something. It's like, nope, you just researched.
Just an idea right now. Yeah, exactly.
You posted on social media, you researched, but you didn't actually take the first step in action.
And I think that's kind of the whole purpose of that quote, is like, you can do this for so long that you don't take a step forward. You just stay exactly where you are. And sadly, some people actually regress from where they were. Where they're just being, and I know it's not comfortable. None of this is comfortable, but it's not difficult. It's just doing.
Yeah. One thing that's helped me lately, and I just started this just a few months ago, because in our challenge, we were doing keeping track of points, right? So each day you would get like a point for certain things that you do. And one of our members had trouble allocating their time. Just, too many decisions to make, too many tasks left on the table. We're just getting frustrated with them. And I was like feeling the same thing. So I'm like, let's figure this out together. And so we actually both end up getting hourly planners, to where each day we have, from 5 a.m. till 9 p.m. on an hourly planner, and you can write in the spot what that hour is allocated for. And for me, it really helps decide up front, hey, this hour is going to be spent on this hour is going to be spent on this. And I don't have to spend hours of mental energy thinking about what's going to happen in that hour. It's already decided. And I found that just that process of thinking about what I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it, has been huge for productivity, decision making, and then being more present in that time as well, because that time is dedicated to that thing, and you're not like, well, maybe I should be doing this, and maybe I should be doing that. Oh yeah, and I do need to do that, and like trying to multitask when like you'll be so much more efficient when you give that time allocated to that specific thing.
Right, and the decision's already made.
Yeah,
you already made it. You wrote it down. Now just do it.
Yeah, so I try to do it like at the end of the day, kind of do a recap of how I spent my day. Did I fulfill kind of my goals in time allocation, and then plan the next day?
I think that's actually, if you're going to do it, I don't know if you're like me, but for me, I get this weird burst of like motivation and energy at the end of the day. Being like, all right, tomorrow, I'm going to crush this.
Yeah.
But if there's nothing like set in stone, then tomorrow comes and you're like, all right, well, I'll push that a little bit to the side. I'll focus on this, and then that thing never gets re-looked at. Or I think if you're going to do something like what Tony just mentioned, doing it when you have that little burst of motivation and like, get stuff done feeling, like plan your next day, write it in stone, and then you actually have a concrete thing. Like tomorrow when I wake up, this is what I'm basing everything off of. You don't let these random distractions or things get thrown your way. And if it does, like if kid gets sick at school or whatever, like the next time you can get to it, like you still have the plan, you just pick up right where you left off.
Yeah. One of the things I'll do, and this is a tip I got from like writers, is they'll say like never finish a chapter. So at the end of the day, like you actually, if you finish a chapter towards the end of your day, like start a new one. So that way when you go into your next day, you're already kind of got the ball rolling, right? You're in a new chapter. And so metaphorically, I think people can take that to be like, oh yeah, I finished that task, great, check mark. I feel that like, dopamine hit of like accomplishing something. But what can I kind of start right now in this last hour of the day that I know I can give more time to tomorrow and somewhat, finish that chapter. And so you have these unfinished chapters day to day, which to some people would feel, like procrastination, but that's exactly what we're trying not to do. We're trying to start things knowing that we're going to finish them tomorrow with a plan.
That's cool. Well, if there's anything you took from this, let us know. Hopefully it helps a little bit, but just to wrap up, figure out what aligns with what you want to do and just take a step. If you guys have any questions, let us know. Reach out, send us a message, and if you have any questions you want answered or a podcast filmed about, let us know as well. Thank you.